Story 1. Once all my expenses are paid, I have $50 to $200 left at the end of my paycheck for unnecessary items. I would be homeless if I had a child. Story 2. I never wanted to experience childbirth because of the pain, expenses, and lifelong responsibility. Story 3. Is there a better reason than simply not having any interest in being a parent? Story 4. I never felt a calling to be a mother. I think it would be unfair to me and any children if I became a mother without wanting them. Story 5. I do not like or want children. It is that simple. Too many people try to justify themselves by bringing up their genetics, impatience, and other reasons, but those are often just excuses, and I wish they would stop. We should all be blunt with nosy and judgmental people. If someone does not want children, then they should just say that. Nobody owes any explanation beyond that. Story 6. It's not worth entertaining a negative question. The reason I don't have a dog is the same reason I don't have a motorbike, the same reason I don't keep a bull, and the same reason I never picked up oil painting. Why don't you do X can be turned into an infinite number of questions. The answer is always that I either never thought about X or do not see X as important or desirable. Story 7. More money, more sleep, more alone time, more mental stability. Overall, more freedom. Story 8. I never wanted them. It seems to me like something you should only do if you want it with your whole heart. I never felt that. Story 9. Social worker for children in Brooklyn. Too many people in this world sleeping on mattresses and not caring about their children. I am meant to love other people's children, and that is okay. There are plenty of children with difficult parents to love in this world. Story 10. There are many reasons, but the biggest one is that I simply do not want any. Story 11. I do not like them and would rather not be around them. Story 12. Eldest daughter of a divorced family with 2 younger siblings. I grew up from age 7 to 18. I am good. Story 13. Because I do not want them. Not everyone is cut out to be a parent. People should be grateful I figured that out before I brought children into the world. Story 14. There are many reasons. I do not like children. I cannot stand the sound of crying, and they are too fragile for my clumsy self. I have low stress tolerance. I really enjoy having a clean, quiet home. I would much rather spend my money on myself than on children. I had pets for half my life, whom I loved dearly and took excellent care of. But I am done being a caretaker now that they are all gone. Story 15. I knew I did not have the patience needed to raise a child. Story 16. I am an American living in a conservative state that has had 12 school shootings in the last 30 years. Story 17. Why would I want to bring another soul into this world when it is clear that the systems in place are designed to use them as nothing more than a resource to be exploited, and provide no support for parents to raise the child properly? Story 18. I want to spend my life having as much of a good time as I can. Having children seems to be the opposite of that. Story 19. I do not like them, and children have a right to be loved by their parents. Story 20. It is a combination of cost, dangers in society, and the fact that I would not want to raise a child by myself. Additionally, I would not wish my severe attention deficit hyperactivity disorder and learning disabilities on any child. I do not want to take that genetic gamble. Story 21. I cannot hold a job. I am at risk for cancer and dementia. My mental health is poor. Children are expensive, demanding, noisy, messy, smelly, destructive, and annoying. I dislike changing diapers. I need my sleep. I was not treated well by my mother during childhood. The world is harsh, there are already too many people, and pregnancy is dangerous. I would be a terrible mother. Story 22. There are too many to name, but the biggest one is that it is high risk and no reward. I want my life to be peaceful and stress-free. Why would I gamble that away? I have never understood why it is a societal expectation that everyone needs to out-hustle each other. Why is it like a competition to be doing the most all the time with no rest? That is what parenthood looks like to me, and it seems exhausting around the clock, not aspirational. So no thanks. Story 23. I don't want children, never have. The desire to raise a child just isn't there for me. I admire my friends who are parents and excellent ones, but that's just not the life I want to live. It's better to have no children than to bring an unwanted child into this world. Story 24. I am disappointed that I was raised in a group that influenced young women to marry and have children early and often. By the time I was 24, I had 3 children. I knew then that I could not have any more. I was seriously concerned about whether I would be psychologically capable of raising these small people. It has not been great. Sometimes it has been enjoyable and a little joyous, but by and large, not great. I wish I had not done it. I am 70 years old now. Story 25. My genetics are absolutely flawed. There is no chance I am willingly passing any of them on to anyone else. Story 26. Lifestyle choice. My wife and I enjoy the financial and physical freedom to lead lives independently from our children. Story 27. I don't want children. It is that simple. I am 34 years old, have no children, and I am very fortunate to have found a partner who does not want children either. Story 28. My life would have to change significantly, and they are very expensive. Story 29. If I can have children, I do not want them to be born with the condition I have. Additionally, I am not interested in being a parent. I find it difficult enough to take care of myself. Story 30. I have sensory issues with being overtouched, sticky, wet, and loud things. I like kids just fine and would run into a burning building for any child, even a stranger's. However, I would be the world's worst mother because I have constant meltdowns, and kids are pretty much touchy, sticky, wet, and loud. Story 31. I like my freedom, quiet, and not smelling like baby vomit for years. Story 32. I am selfish and did not want to give up my life to raise a child. I do not like children that much either. Story 33. I feel like I would not have the patience or energy for parenting, and I do not want to force myself into it just because it is expected. Money plays a big role too. Children are expensive. Story 34. I did not have good role models, and by the time I felt I was a good enough role model, my body did not cooperate. Edit to add that this does not bother me. Story 35. I know my limitations and my own feelings. From a young age, I never wanted children. I am too selfish and lazy to want to take care of anyone other than myself. Story 36. I am a person struggling with alcohol addiction and multiple mental health challenges. I believe I would not be a good parent. Story 37. I just don't think I was mature enough to have children when I was fertile, so I stayed on birth control and used condoms until menopause. Now I have animals. Story 38. The world is not safe. America is not safe. Everything is expensive. Time is remarkably short. College is extremely expensive. Science and health are being disregarded. This is coming from 2 people who are highly educated and do well in their respective fields. The unfortunate part of this conversation is that many less educated people who do poorly in their fields will have a large number of children simply because they can. I do not feel like we made a mistake because we were thoughtful about our reasons, and there is no guarantee our children would be exceptional human beings. However, it would have been nice if others had the same thoughtful approach as we did. Story 39. I did not want children to begin with, but have you seen the world? It is a disaster heading towards the extinction of the species. I cannot even imagine wanting to bring new people into this situation. Story 40. I do not want children, do not have time for them, and could not afford them anyway. I used to want children, but life changed my mind. For a good while, I wanted one biological child because I am adopted. However, my genetics and age have changed my mind about that. I also used to want to adopt a child, but I no longer have a desire to have children. Story 41. I have never seen the reason to have children of my own. They are joyous to watch and interact with, but after a while, I know they turn into little monsters. I do not really want any part of that. Story 42. Too much responsibility and cost. Wives forget about the husband, and kids come first, which I do not think is right. The husband did not sign up for that. I would ruin them because I was raised with unrealistic expectations and have difficulty understanding why people are willing to give up so easily. I am at fault for this, along with many other reasons. Story 43. This question is asked here constantly. Search and you will find countless answers. Story 44. High risk and I do not want my own children. I enjoy my space and having more money. You can read more reasons why in the child-free community. Story 45. I used my parents as an example. Whenever I lived with either one of them, it always seemed like I was a burden. I did not want to take on the same burden. What a negative way for me to think. Story 46. The world is a difficult place filled with suffering and cruelty to a degree that is not outweighed by the good. Simply being born places a heavy burden of existence through a lifetime of labor, hardship, and possibly despair, assuming one is perfectly healthy. I would never place this burden willingly on another creature. Adopting, however, is great. They are already born, and if they are orphans, then their projected quality of life without being adopted is very poor, especially if they are unable to access social resources after turning 18. Adopt and save a child from a difficult life instead of risking placing another child into one. Story 47. Literally no desire at all. I cherish my freedom too much to disrupt that. A child would be one huge extra responsibility that would consume my life and bring me nothing I do not currently have or need. Story 48. Gay and married, but neither of us wants to adopt or have a surrogate. Children are expensive, loud, destructive, and time-consuming. Children are only cute when they are somebody else's responsibility. Story 49. We did not want to have children. I have heard about feeling a desire or need to have children. I have never felt it, and my husband said he did not either. He also said he was afraid his children might behave as badly as he did. Story 50. My rare disease is genetic. Knowing how much pain I am in daily and how my life is just appointments and surgeries every other month, I never want that for someone else, let alone my own children. Story 51. I never liked children much, even when I was one. Being a parent does not interest me. Story 52. I think people often approach this the wrong way. I don't necessarily have a reason for not having children. I just don't have a reason to have children. Obviously, you think about it because everyone talks about it. But my main thought is always just, why have them? All I can imagine is being significantly worse off financially, not able to take vacations as freely, not able to spend my afternoons as I wish, not able to leave work and enjoy peace and quiet. So many negatives. And what for exactly? The satisfaction of knowing I reproduced? I have thought about this a lot. And the best answer I can truly think of is, because it's life and experiencing life basically includes raising children. However, I think there are many other valuable experiences in life besides raising children. So many people I know who have children end up separated or divorced, and they look forward to the day when their children finally move out of the house. Story 53. I never felt the need to be one. They are very expensive and unpleasant. Every time I am in a grocery store and hear one screaming, I shut down. I would rather spend my time and money on myself. Story 54. Pregnancy, childbirth, and infants. No interest in any of that. Story 55. I know I am too mentally unstable, terrible with money, and depressed. Why would I want to burden someone else with those things? That is the same reason I stay single. Story 56. I saw what my friends went through, and I do not have the maternal instinct at all. Bipolar disorder and alcohol abuse run in my family. Story 57. Choosing to have a child means shaping a life I cannot fully foresee. I question whether they or the world would truly survive. Story 58. I never felt the yearning to mother children. I have been very career-focused. I believe far too many people have children because it is the thing to do. I do not think people should have children unless they actually want to devote their lives to parenting well. Story 59. Phobia of pregnancy and why would I want kids anyway? I never understood the desire for them. Not my cup of tea, I guess. Story 60. Gestures broadly. I live in the United States and am not wealthy. I do not want to be the reason another person has to suffer. Story 61. I don't like children, and I really enjoy free time, a quiet house, disposable income, motorcycles, and freedom. I am sure having children is a noble mission and a deeply rewarding adventure, but I just have no interest in it. There are other things that bring me joy and meaning. At the end of the day, with my feet up playing video games, I never regret it. Story 62. Despite my wife and I having great jobs, we never had the urge to have children. I took care of my young siblings throughout high school. My youngest sister was born when I was 17. I had my fill growing up and knew I did not want to do that. Additionally, I am a transgender woman and cannot reproduce even if I wanted to. Story 63. I do not want to be a mother. I do not like children. I like sleeping. I like quiet. I like money. I like doing things spontaneously. I have a hereditary medical condition. I could list more, but why would I have children if I do not want to be a parent? Story 64. Waiting for the right person. I am terrified of having a child with someone and then getting a divorce. I want my children to have one home. Story 65. The largest challenge is definitely the cost and financial burden of having a child. For example, both my sister and I are generally financially responsible, but her pursuit of the traditional American dream of having kids and a house has set her and her family back financially much more than my girlfriend and I. I also have a unique philosophy about bringing life into this world. I am not against having children and think judging people for having kids is strange behavior, but I personally feel uneasy about bringing a life into this world knowing they will suffer in some way, no matter how much I try to prevent it. This feeling is especially strong given the unstable and uncertain political, economic, and environmental situations we currently face. If I were wealthy and could provide a child with the best possible life and all the resources needed for a prosperous and fulfilling future, I might still consider having a child. However, unless that day comes soon, I probably will not have children. Story 66. Financial instability and mental health challenges are significant factors in my life. I returned to college and am currently attending graduate school, which is also very demanding. I live in a townhome, and my husband and I cannot afford anything larger at this time. He does not particularly want children because he fears they might have difficulties similar to those experienced by his siblings. I am almost certainly physically unable to conceive, or at least it is extremely unlikely due to health reasons. It is difficult because I have worked with young children for a long time and love kids. Seeing families with their children made me wish I had that in my life, as children are wonderful, but that will not be my future. Story 67. I like sleep, a quiet and clean home, free time, being able to focus on myself, my partner, my fitness, and our relationship. We travel to several countries per year and would not be able to live the same lifestyle with children. Having traveled and seen the reality of climate change and the slow crawl towards fascism, it seems bringing a child into this world would be cruel to them. If someday I feel called to motherhood, I will adopt because I would rather save a child than add to the serious overpopulation problem. Story 68. There are many reasons, but ultimately, I do not want to be a parent. Story 69. I've never wanted children. I didn't like them even when I was a child. Anyway, further proof. Tonight, a family member called to let me know they were canceling a family event because the children have hand, foot, and mouth disease. I guess they caught it at daycare. Gross. This person fully admitted that their life would have been much easier without children, but they would not change it for the world. Without skipping a beat, I said, sure thing. Story 70. I honestly say that I never felt the desire to have my own child. I have fostered several. When my sister's grandchildren visit, I am glad to see them come and glad to see them go. I do not feel it is ever necessary to explain my choice to anyone. I am very content with my child-free lifestyle. However, I admire great parents and abhor poor ones. Story 71. Medical issues. I have severe polycystic ovary syndrome. I had cysts that would grow to the size of large chicken eggs, then rupture, causing holes in my ovaries. This went on for months with doctors dismissing my concerns. By ages 16 to 17, they told me it had caused so much damage that I was basically sterile. I have always loved children, I don't know why, but children have also always loved me too. I worked at a daycare, and I got a lot of joy out of teaching them empathy, kindness, and anything else they were curious about. Some would treat me like a human jungle gym, and others would ask me to hold their hand during nap time. I think the thing I loved most was when they would excitedly tell their parents about something new they had learned. I was always told I would make a great mother one day, and it always made my heart ache knowing that wasn't going to happen for me. Still hurts, but I have a pretty awesome life. I am the cool aunt for my friends' children, and I am happy I can be there for them. Story 72. I love children, enjoy being an aunt, and worked professionally as a licensed therapist for years, specifically with children. However, since I was very young, I never wanted to have children. I never played with baby dolls. My parents would buy them for me, but I had no interest. I also do not want to be pregnant. Everyone said my biological clock would tick and that my desire would change, but I am 37 years old, financially stable, and in a loving, committed long-term relationship. That biological clock never ticked. Not even once. I am glad to have a spouse who also does not want children, because I would not want him to lose his future dreams because I say no. I see many people having multiple children and struggling financially to care for them, then relying on government support, which I never understood. But that is a separate issue. Ultimately, some women simply do not want to have children. I love children but choose not to have them. Story 73. We want children, but we both have medical fertility issues. Even in vitro fertilization will not work for us. Adopting or fostering is also not an option. I have a white-collar record from decades ago. I am a successful business owner now. Story 74. Endometriosis caused my infertility. It was not diagnosed until my hysterectomy. Story 75. It seems like a miserable experience with no personal time and too many compromises. It would fall on me to make the most self-sacrifice as the womb bearer, no way. Besides, I am still mentally stuck in my early 20s. I never wanted children, and it is harmful to the environment to bring more people here. What future awaits them? Water conflicts, the sixth extinction, the blue ocean event. No, I came to this planet to enjoy one last good time before it all burns. The music is too good here not to, and the nature and animals, what is left of them, are too beautiful. Story 76. And when I was of child-rearing years in my 20s and 30s, leaders like Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, and Bill Clinton were hiding gay people, enforcing don't ask, don't tell, and domestic marriage laws were going into effect across the nation. Gay individuals who had children essentially had infant and young friends living with them, as those children were not recognized as children of same-sex couples. They were taxed 33% on their estate. We lived in a difficult situation then, and Donald Trump wants to drag us back. Story 77. I am disabled. I do not have the energy to properly care for a child or the financial security. However, I worked with children for a decade before I became disabled, and it seems that the world is never short of children who need a caring adult, but not enough adults to go around. Not having children does not mean your life is not filled with children. Story 78. Child-free, not by choice. I am approaching middle age, so it is possible, but it is getting to the point where I feel it would be unfair to raise a child and have them with an older father. It is a combination of things. Poor choices in partners. Good partners at my age already have children and do not want more. I have come close once, but she decided to abort. Let it be known, I remain pro-choice, even if her unilateral decision affected me deeply as well. So there it is. I have a wonderful dog, Bandit, and she looks out for me. I ended up starting a boxing club by accident, and I have a few core kids who have adopted me as their father figure, so things worked out. Do I feel like I missed out? Yes, I do. Every day it is work to let go of that dream, but my girls and my dog make the work not very difficult at all. Story 79. It's not that I hate children, but honestly, I thought I would be a mother. However, I realized I would not have the patience. My boyfriend also thought he wanted children but realized that he did not want that for himself. No one pressures us into having children, so that is a positive. Story 80. I was forced to take on adult responsibilities and felt I had to raise my sibling. I do not want to experience that in any way again. Story 81. gestures at everything. No part of the world as it is currently or looks to be in the near future makes me optimistic about having children. Why would I bring children into a world worse than the one I grew up in? Story 82. I did not want children, that is pretty much it. No deep, traumatizing, brain-scarring secrets, I just did not want children of my own. I never wanted to have a farm either, but if someone gave me a farm, I would give it a try. Story 83. I have already raised a brother. Also, climate change. More importantly, I am very selfish with my time. Story 84. My husband and I have been broke and absolutely poor before, and I never want a child to experience that kind of poverty. Story 85. I decided decades ago that I did not want to leave some poor child in a world as troubled as this one was going to become. Turns out I was right. It is about 100 times worse than I had imagined. I strongly disapprove of Donald Trump. Story 86. Oh, I have several reasons. I do not have the money. The way the world is right now is not something I would want to bring a child into. My family's health history is poor on both sides, and I do not want to pass it on. I am female, and I do not ever want to be pregnant. Kind of freaks me out, and I feel like I would hate it. Even if those things were solved, such as having money or adoption, I just do not know that I would be a good mother. I do not feel like I have enough patience, and I can be moody or get angry. I have anxiety and worry a lot when my cat is sick. I would probably have a heart attack or something with a sick child. It is just not something in the cards for me. I have the fun and energy. Story 87. I really want children, but we can barely afford it. We both dislike our jobs, and it feels like having children will make it much harder to change careers. I am only 29 though. I hope that maybe we will find some stability and have children. Story 88. Being woken up by a screaming baby every night for months when I was 6 was enough for me to know I would never cope with one of my own. Story 89. I am confident that I would struggle with raising a pet, let alone a future productive member of society. Story 90. I have been a babysitter, a dog owner, and I am an uncle. That is my limit. I believe some people should have experience before having a child. For example, become a doctor, nurse, or teacher of children for at least 3 years. Be a sports coach, Boy Scout or Girl Scout leader, or camp counselor for 3 years. Volunteer in the Big Brothers Big Sisters program for at least 3 years. Be the oldest or second oldest child of 3 or more siblings living under the same roof for more than 17 years. None of those apply to me. I could not keep a Tamagotchi alive for more than 3 years, even if I wanted to. Story 91. My entire life, my mother told my sisters and me not to have children because it is not worth it. Story 92. Depression and anxiety. I feel better today, but I am worried that my depression could get worse again, and I would not want a child to see their mother that way. I am happy having my dogs and my partner. I have 3 siblings, so my parents have grandchildren. Story 93. For now, I prefer my nights to end in moans, not in diapers. Story 94. I like living my life with freedom and limited stress. My wife and I love our life as it is and have no desire to have children. We like to travel and do things spontaneously. We are also highly sensitive to light, sounds, and chaos. We are much happier and healthier with just the 2 of us. Even if we wanted children, I do not think I would want to bring them into this world. Story 95. There is no way I am bringing someone into a world I do not want to be a part of. Story 96. Because I find them irritating beyond measure. Ages ago, I worked for a traveling photographer company called American Studios. They set up portable portrait studios in Walmart stores. I spent 8 hours a day dealing with screaming children who did not want their pictures taken. Over time, I stopped caring about kids. 10 months later, when I quit, I loathed the children. I still do to this day. The experience made me never want to have children. I have no patience or paternal instincts. Even now, hearing a child cry makes me want to tell them to be quiet. The job gave me shell shock. Story 97. Affordability and the uncertainty of the future. I feel like my country has been going downhill the older I get. Story 98. Female here. See that woman's list of reasons not to give birth. But also for me, there's overpopulation. I have several mental illnesses I don't want to pass on. The current state of the world doesn't seem like a safe place to bring a child into, regarding climate change and political unrest. I like spending money on myself and my cats. I am very career-focused. Children are expensive to raise. Children are annoying, dirty, loud, and constantly breaking stuff or getting hurt. Story 99. I have more than one reason. 1. My husband and I come from abusive mothers. We did not want to risk losing our tempers and hurting a baby. 2. We both have multiple matching medical issues and did not want to pass them on to a child. 3. I do not like kids at all. I was a kindergarten teacher for a year, so this is a truth I came to realize. 4. We are protective of our time together and did not want to bring another person into that who would not get the attention they needed to thrive. 5. It is too expensive to have children. 6. I need a lot of sleep to stay healthy, and I know I would not have enough for about 7 to 8 years. Story 100. Not for lack of trying, goodness knows, but the biological impossibility of getting another man pregnant really works against my odds. Story 101. Money is a concern. I don't have much left after bills, and the economy is very poor right now. Secondly, medical issues are a factor. There are widespread genetic problems in my family, so genetic testing is necessary and would have to show exceptionally good results for a potential child. Third, I am enjoying my life, especially since my husband and I got married 2 years ago, with our anniversary on the 23rd of this month. We want to travel and do many things while we can. Story 102. I saw my parents' lives ruined because my sister was struggling for 50 years, while my parents continually tried to help her. I witnessed it and decided no children for me. Story 103. Needy things that you cannot just leave alone. They drain all the youth, hope, and life out of you until you are a shell. Story 104. I do not like them. Being a parent looks like living in hell. Story 105. It does not work out from a cost-benefit point of view. I dislike children under the age of 6. You cannot really talk to them, so I would have to spend the first 6 years dealing with a child I do not really like. They are very expensive. Takes up a great deal of time. The few happy moments you get from it do not make up for all the negatives. Not to mention that I am very antisocial and do not even want a permanent partner because they are too much effort for me. Story 106. I think my husband and I would make great parents, but you know what? We just do not want children. Story 107. Since being a young kid, have never wanted children. It was never part of any make-believe play. It was never something I looked forward to. When my brother had his first child when I was 14, I had a non-life-changing experience seeing the baby. I only held it because I was socially expected to do so. My wife also never had a maternal instinct. The biological clock never ticked. Seeing a child does nothing for her. Don't get me wrong, we love our nieces and nephews very much. Now that they are not babies, we enjoy letting them come visit. The lion's share of our wealth when we die will go to making sure they and their children do not experience poverty. But we also love giving them back after a week or so. I was not able to get a vasectomy until last year, despite wanting to since I was 25. No doctor would perform it because, what if you or your wife change your mind? Despite me never once considering wanting children or dating anyone with a child before I met my wife. But that's literally it. There was never once a desire to have a child, so we did not. Story 108. I suffer from a number of inherited mental health issues and have suffered tremendously because of them. I cannot in good faith risk knowingly enabling the possibility for it to happen to someone else. My government is also leading the entire world into willingly sliding into fascism. There is a strong chance that a child will be hated, persecuted, and worse for things they cannot even personally control. The government is doing everything it can to lower the quality of life for children by cutting school funding, healthcare research, affordable healthcare access, vaccination access, and mental health care. Meanwhile, they do absolutely nothing to curb modern threats to childhood safety, refusing to educate parents about dangers such as those posed by the modern internet. Instead, they use those threats as an excuse to censor and restrict access, the first of many efforts aimed at suppressing dissent regarding the direction the world is heading. Wealth disparity increases daily. Financial security is becoming an impossibility for the average person. Yet, we sit back and watch it all, saying there is nothing that can be done about any of it. Having a child would be abuse even before they are born. Story 109. Some people are child-free by choice and some are child-free not by choice. I wish people would be sensitive in differentiating the two. Asking someone who is child-free not by choice can be very sensitive and even re-traumatizing for some. To answer your question without getting too personal, as someone who is child-free not by choice, I'll sum it up by saying, it's the hand that life dealt me, and I'm learning to find joy in life despite it. Story 110. Self-care, money, freedom, sleep, better food, water, shelter, travel, better health, more family time, enjoying my life, my partner, and my career, never having the external stress of nonstop screaming. To be fair, the genetics in my family are horrible, and it would have been a struggle to conceive anyway. That said, I did not like children when I was a child. No way did I want them when I was older. I am 45 and have not once regretted not having little goblins. I see having children as the same as living in Los Angeles. Everyone complains, hates living there, and then says, but the weather is nice. No, I'm good. I'm good. Story 111. I see other parents and how unhappy they are. I fear I may look like that one day, and I find it upsetting. I am scared to try and would rather relax in peace and quiet. Story 112. Not everyone is suited to be a parent, and I will be the first to admit that I am one of those people. Children make me nervous, uptight, and annoyed. I have no patience for them, and they are too needy and expensive. Story 113. Never really got the chance, I guess. I mean, I would like to, but never really met the right person. Maybe there is something wrong with me, and that is the reason, but it is a bit too late now. Story 114. Had stepchildren, realized it was not for me. I do wonder, though, if I would feel differently if I had children of my own. Story 115. I am pretty sure that the birth control pills I took to regulate my menstrual cycle ended up causing infertility. Story 116. I am 12 years old. Just kidding, I am 22, but I do not have a girlfriend because I think I am unattractive. Story 117. Child-free? What a strange name for it. It sounds like children are an STD. Personally, I am afraid that my health issues could be passed on and have not had a reason to check or reconsider that position. It is as simple as that. I also probably cannot adopt given my overall situation. Story 118. Reason 1. Since childhood, I have always found life to be scary, hard, and sad, so I never felt much joy being alive. Therefore, I never wanted to give life to someone else. Reason 2. I could never afford it, and the kind of men I tend to date could never afford it either. Reason 3. I like broken people like me, so I always try to be the strong one for my significant others and friends. I work a lot because I like to provide for my friends who struggle, rather than get into a relationship and raise a child that was never here in the first place. I feel more responsibility to my peers, and I don't understand why more people don't want to take care of elders and peers. But I always have, and I'm grateful that people like me exist. If everybody had children, there wouldn't be enough people to help other types of people, such as struggling adults. Reason 4. I just think kitties are cuter, and I never really liked humans very much. I care about humans, but I don't enjoy being one. I believe there are plenty of us and that we damage habitats for animals. I don't see a need for me to reproduce. I would rather help out some friends and animals before I go. Reason 5. My dad has never been around. My parents divorced and he wanted nothing to do with me. My mom basically killed herself. This doesn't leave a lot of room for a support system. Story 119. I can do what I want when I want, and the only one who complains is my cat when he misses his snuggles. It is peaceful here. Story 120. So many. I do not like children. I feel no urge to be a mother. The idea of pregnancy disgusts me. The way motherhood is treated seems unfair to me. You have no control over what you get. It is a lifelong commitment to a stranger. This is an awful world that I do not want to be in. So why would I put someone else in it? I could honestly go on. Story 121. I had awful parents and I was terrified I would be like my mother and make a child of my own who would feel the same pain I felt growing up. They might end up as a troubled adult like me. My sister did not have children for the same reason. The only one who has, so far, is my brother, the golden child, who at 35 has never moved out of my mother's house and has moved his wife in. Story 122. Time, money, patience, and my girlfriend do not want them either. Story 123. Quick response. My wife does not want children. She feels they would take my attention away from her, and she would resent that. Even quicker response. Children are very expensive. Story 124. I really enjoy sleeping and I have known from a young age that it was not for me. Story 125. I'm not opposed to parenthood. My life just isn't shaking out that way, and it's fine by me. I have no active desire to have children. I can barely afford to support myself. Also, I don't want to give birth. If I, as a heterosexual female, could be a father instead of a mother, maybe. Story 126. I'm a very selfish person. I'd rather spend my money and time on myself. As someone who grew up in a big, close-knit family, including more than 30 aunts and uncles, over 50 cousins, and currently more than 20 nieces and nephews, I can say with all my heart that I don't want more noise. Story 127. I cannot stand the little brats. Who can guess what game that is from? Also, I like having adult money to spend on my wife and me. We enjoy traveling and visiting amusement parks a lot. Something that is much more difficult with a child in tow. Story 128. Money, freedom, responsibility. Watching my sister have 3 children aged her significantly. She often asks me how I look and act much younger. Other things. Anxiety and panic disorder run in our family. I did not want to pass that on. Our father died when I was 9. That experience scarred me, and I refused to potentially put a child through what I went through. Absolutely not. Story 129. The real question is, why would I? I find it much harder to understand people who really want children, like at the planning level. I am not talking about unplanned parents who love their child. Story 130. I don't have the patience for other people. When my nephew came to visit for the summer, I was relieved when he went back home. I love the kid, but after a few days I am completely done. Thankfully, I get to have fun with him and then go home. That is the ideal arrangement for me. Story 131. This world is not good enough. If this were a world where people worked toward the common good, I would pursue it. I do not want to create another worker for this society. Story 132. Expenses? I already live paycheck to paycheck, and my husband pays for most of the bills since he earns more than I do. We both work full-time, and daycare is very expensive. We enjoy our freedom, and I enjoy my naps. Story 133. My daughter has chosen not to have children. The first reason is that she does not like babies or little kids. She is very sensitive to noises and smells. The second reason is that the state of our country is not conducive to bringing more children into the world. There is too much turmoil and violence, too many people, and not enough resources. The third reason is that she enjoys her life with her boyfriend and her friends. She loves her job. Bringing a baby into the world would be too much responsibility. Story 134. I have never had an internal or biological clock that makes me want to reproduce. I have never had the desire to have a child for the sake of having a child. For me, it is about the person you are dating, not about having children. I am not against having children, but I am not actively seeking them either. Story 135. I have many challenges that would make me a poor parent. My mental and physical health are poor. My financial situation is difficult. I lack the motivation to take care of myself, let alone someone else. My support system is weak, and I live in substandard housing with a wild animal in the walls and ceiling. I am also tocophobic and identify as an asexual. The main reason I do not want children is that I have no interest in raising them. I like children, but I do not have an active interest in the primary goal of parenting, which is to help a person develop life skills, good habits, and a positive worldview. If custody of a child were placed with me, I would do my best in those areas. I do not think I would hate it. However, the lack of inherent interest in the process makes me a poor candidate. Story 136. This question is asked frequently, but no one ever has a satisfactory response, in my opinion, when it is reversed. I would rather know why people have children. The reasons not to have children far outweigh the reasons to have them for me. Story 137. Having a child feels like having a phone case that is not compatible with my phone. I do not need it or want it. Even if I had money, I still do not want it. It is not the end of the world if I had it, but it adds no value to the quality of my life. Story 138. Never met a partner responsible enough to have children with. Story 139. Have you walked outside before? It is hard for me to just exist. Story 140. I was diagnosed with a life-altering autoimmune disease when I was 26, and it took almost 10 years to find the diagnosis and start treatment. My ability to function can fluctuate suddenly, and it doesn't seem fair to bring a child into the world unless I can be a strong, supportive, and reliable parent whenever they need me. Considering genetics, financial factors, and the current state of my country, the United States of America, we genuinely want children. For now, we are allowing ourselves to grieve briefly. Then, we plan to focus on rescuing and caring for many animals, buying a recreational vehicle, and traveling to visit our nieces and nephews across the country for months at a time. We will also have more time and resources to support our family and friends. Story 141. I like my own money, personal space, good sleep, and the freedom to do what I want. I do not want to harm my body for having children. Additionally, I have a very short temper. Story 142. There are some interesting white papers showing the strong correlation between secular societies, such as atheism and agnosticism, and lower fertility rates. It is interesting to see the United States replicating similar sharp declines in fertility observed in some East Asian countries. Story 143. I don't want a child. There was not a single day in my life when I thought, I really want a baby. Story 144. Did not want stress in my life. I want to do what I want, when I want, where I want. Story 145. My spouse and I are happy together. We have an early retirement goal to live our best lives with one another while we can. We do not feel a need to subject other humans to our difficult world. If humanity were better, maybe we would reconsider. It is not. We are finished. Go be happy while you can. Story 146. Married a man who never wanted children. Then my health declined. Got divorced. Married a man who did want children. By then, I was sure I did not want any. Got a tubal ligation. Besides, what kind of troubled world would they be born into anyway? Story 147. My late husband had muscular dystrophy, and we discussed it very seriously when we started talking about marriage. We both agreed that while being seriously ill and disabled did not make him any less of a person, it was not something we wanted to pass on to a child. There was a very high chance it would be inherited, as it is a genetic disorder. We were completely in agreement from the beginning. It was simply the right and only choice for us. After watching the disease slowly rob him of everything, witnessing his slow, agonizing decline, and eventual passing, I know we made the right decision. I would never want to subject anyone to that or watch a loved one endure it again. Story 148. I am still processing the trauma from my parents who should not have had children and have not truly lived, only survived. When I am ready to share my life and commit to having children, I will. Story 149. 1. I have no reason to want children, and I think that is more than enough reason not to have them. 2. As a working-class peasant, the best-case scenario is that I give them a life of peasantry slightly better than mine. It does not seem moral to force that on a new life. 3. Rent is $500 of my $700 paycheck for a one-bedroom granny flat in a semi-rural town. 4. I carry a cystic fibrosis gene, possibly 2. 5. Disabilities like dyslexia seem to run on my father's side of the family and in me. Yes, I know there is no conclusive evidence of it being genetic or hereditary in the medical community. 6. I already cannot fit a fraction of my hobbies and research interests into my free time while working part-time. I do not have time for children or even a relationship and would choose my hobbies over both instantly. That said, I recognize that most people have a much stronger desire for relationships than I seem to. 7. Children are a lifelong commitment. I do not even want to commit to a job or massively multiplayer online game for more than a year. Story 150. Cannot do it alone and have never found anyone to do it with me. Story 151. Not having a partner who inspires me to have children is the main reason. Additionally, I do not have free time for them. Story 152. Why would I want a child? I can get a dog. I do not even want a dog. Story 153. I like to sleep when I want, go where I want, eat what I want, and watch what I want. I am selfish with my time and my life. I also do not want to put my body through pregnancy or childbirth. Additionally, I have a mental illness that I would not want anyone else, especially my own child, to have to suffer with. Considering how the world is going and the cost of everything, it is just not feasible on top of me not wanting to. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.